This video is going to cover Microsoft PowerPoint Unit O, integrating Office 2013 programs together. Essentially, this unit covers combining functions or objects from different Microsoft applications together to make or create one seamless document. So most of what this unit covers you should have some experience with. So I'm going to kind of touch at a high level on the concepts and explain what some of the new items covered in this unit you may not have seen before, like the mail merge at the end. But we're going to talk about those, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to me in course messages. So for the objectives for this unit, covers how to insert an Excel chart into a PowerPoint slide, how to insert PowerPoint slides from a Word document, inserting screen clips into a Word document, how to insert text from a Word file into an open document. We're also going to discuss how to link an Excel chart to a Word document, update a linked Excel chart into a Word document, insert merge fields into a Word document, and perform a mail merge. The last couple of items or something that you may not have seen before, but once we discuss them, you'll understand where they are, what they are, and then the purpose for those. So moving on to our first objective here. When we're inserting an Excel chart into a PowerPoint slide, there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can create a chart in PowerPoint and then modify the Excel spreadsheet that'll be linked to it, or you can insert a chart. Inserting a chart would link that from a let me back up just a second. Inserting a chart from a, let's say, pre-existing Excel file would link that chart between PowerPoint and Excel, so the two files would be linked together. And one of the good benefits of that is that when you update your Excel file, your PowerPoint file will automatically update, since they're linked together. And I'll tell you why that's a powerful tool. Let's just, for an example, we'll use where I work, for example. We report to our leadership probably every other week, some cases once a month, on particular initiatives that we are working in our organization. Well, those reports and those presentations take sometimes several days, up to a week, to put together. So once you put the initial presentation together and you link data in your presentation, which in our case is a PowerPoint presentation, then you can refresh that data in the PowerPoint periodically. So let's say this month we cover our current status with our leadership. Next month, instead of redoing that entire presentation, we can update the links in the file, refresh the data, and then really we just have to look and see what changed from a numbers view, and work to report on that instead of having to create a whole another presentation. So that's one of the advantages to linking files together. Let's see, we won't cover the graphics in this lecture. Those are available for you to view in the textbook. Okay, the next objective in this unit is inserting PowerPoint slides from a Word document. So in this scenario, you can use an outline that you've created in Word as a starting point for a new PowerPoint presentation. And when you use a Word outline, it makes it very easy to, number one, see how the document's organized, and number two, you can create a PowerPoint presentation pretty easily if you have a correctly formatted Word document. So when you insert a Word outline into PowerPoint, the lines that are formatted as level 1 in the outline appear as slide titles, and the lower level text appears as bullet points. So if you have a Word document that is formatted using headers, those level 1 headers will be translated by Microsoft PowerPoint as slide titles when inserted into a PowerPoint document. And any of the subsequent text underneath that header will appear as bullet points or text on the slides. You should have an example of this in your textbook. Let's see, it's going to be on page 378. And you'll see that formatting a Word document correctly, and it will make it much easier to create a PowerPoint presentation from that Word document. In this case, the benefit here would be if let's say you're having to write a report or report on something, either for school or for work, and you write the report in Word, format the document accordingly, and then you need to create a presentation as well to kind of give a high-level summary of the report. You would be able to pull that Word document data into a PowerPoint presentation and create a presentation pretty effortlessly without having to do a lot of extra work. And your data would be consistent. You wouldn't have to worry about errors between the two or inconsistencies in data between the two, because you're using the same data. So that's the benefit of creating PowerPoint slides based off of a Word document. All right, next slide. All right, so using outlines in Word and PowerPoint. So if you want to create an outline in Word that you can use as the basis for a PowerPoint presentation, it's best to use the Word outline levels in your text. This goes back to the previous slide. The heading tags in Word determine the structure of the outline when it's imported into PowerPoint, and you can also set the PowerPoint presentation in an outline format, then open it in Word. So you'll see that you can go between the two. If you wanted to create a PowerPoint presentation, if you use the outline view in that correct format, then you can also import the data from that PowerPoint file over to Word and create, let's just say if you wanted to create a notes page or a report to speak from or even to email out, you can do that and combine all that data on a couple of pages in a Word document instead of several slides in a PowerPoint presentation. So just knowing how to format your documents correctly between the two applications can allow you to have to do much less work. All right, inserting screen clips into a Word document. And this really is true with any Microsoft Office application. Excuse me, I had to pause for a second there. But you can do that by inserting from the Insert tab in Microsoft Office 2013, and you'll have a screenshot icon. Looks like a small camera, and what it'll do is it'll give you a couple of options. Well, really more than a couple of options. It depends on how many active screens that you have open on your computers. Let's say you wanted to include let's just say a chart on a stock's financial performance into a PowerPoint presentation, and you did your research online and you found a graph that you wanted to import into a PowerPoint presentation. You could, using the screenshot feature, you could take a snapshot of that screen, of that active window that displays your chart, embed it into your PowerPoint presentation, and then you can use the photo cropping features or adjustment tools to size the photo or the screenshot appropriately and embed it in your chart, and then you could add text underneath and a title to the slide to give additional structure to the slide. But that's a very, very handy tool in Microsoft Office. You can use it in pretty much all of the applications that we've covered to this point, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and it's something that I see used pretty regular where I work on a daily basis. Alright, let's see, inserting text from a Word file into an open document. So when you want to combine two files into one or insert another document into a current document is when this would be used. And although you can easily copy and paste information between two or more open documents, it is sometimes easier to insert the contents from a file without having to open it first. So let's just back up one slide, just to elaborate a little bit here. Let's say that if you wanted to cite a technical document, where I work, we do that a lot. We have a lot of technical, I guess, content or principles that we deal with on a daily basis, and most of the time we have a published technical document that supports the initiatives that we work. So if I want to write a report on maybe we had a problem with something, so we had some equipment that didn't work the way it was supposed to, and we're asked to do, sometimes we'll be asked to do what they call a post-mortem investigation or review. If something doesn't go according to plan, we would outline the steps, what we performed, and we would reference a technical document. This would be a one of the ways that you could insert an excerpt from another document into your report, would be to insert the text from a Word file into an open document. That way it gives credence to what you did and refers back to the practice that you used. So that's just an example of what this would be used for. Alright, so moving on, next slide we're going to discuss placing an access table in a Word document. And you can insert an access table by a couple of different methods. One, you can copy the entire table or individual records and paste them into a Word document. That's probably the easiest way. You can use the export feature in Access to export objects such as a table, query, report, or form. And then you can insert those into your PowerPoint presentation. And you can always one thing to remember about exporting is that Access always exports to a new rich text format, the an RTF file, and you cannot export to an open Word document. Just one thing to remember. The object in Word is not linked to Access, and any modifications that you make to an exported table in Word affect only the Word document. So that's basically saying that they're not linked together. Access is a little bit different type of application in Microsoft Office. It's the last one that we'll cover in this course. It's essentially what I would refer to as a desktop database, and the reason why I say it's a desktop database is it can be used up to a certain level. It's not one that particularly scales well like some of the other larger database applications like Oracle or SAP or any of those types of applications. So it's used primarily, I would say, for small business, middle to small organizations, but on a corporate or an enterprise level, it doesn't scale that well. So, just to jump back to the last bullet point, if we link or embed an Access table into a Word document, just know that those are not linked. So if you update data in the Word document table, then it's not going to update the original Access file. So just make sure you're aware. Alright, so linking data to a Word document. I touched a little bit on this earlier in the lecture. When you link data, it shares updated information between files and programs, which is great because you only have to update it in one place. And a link displays information from a source file containing the data and the destination file, which is the location to which the data is copied or moved. So, for example, this presentation that we're looking at on the screen now, if I were to include, let's say, a chart or a table from an Excel file that I have saved on my computer, and let's just say that I give a similar lecture semester after semester. Well, let's just say that the data changes on my chart or on my Excel file. Instead of having to recreate the presentation or recreate that slide, I can just update the data in my Excel workbook since it's linked to my PowerPoint presentation, and my PowerPoint presentation will automatically update based on the new information in the Excel file. So that's the advantage and the power of linking files together. So in a Word document, linked data looks just like inserted or embedded data. You wouldn't know any difference just by the mere appearance of it. And linked data can be edited in the native program just by double-clicking the data. All right, and just a little bit more on the linked Excel. When you update the source file, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, every linked object automatically updates. So it'll refresh the data for you. And you can also update a linked object manually by right-clicking it and selecting the update link, or by selecting the linked object and pressing F9, which updates links in any Office application. So F9 is the keyboard shortcut or the function key that will update any linked data between two files. Alright, inserting merge fields into a Word document. So let's talk a little bit about what merge fields are. Excuse me, we'll touch on that after we cover the definitions here. Let's talk about those first. A form letter is a document that contains a standard body text and a custom heading. containing the name and address for one of many recipients. And that letter or the main document is usually created in Word, and then the data source is usually a compiled table, worksheet, or database such as Access. So merged fields, for example, let's say I wanted to write a letter. Let's just say I was president of the Alumni Association or a booster club or something like that, and I wanted to send a letter to all the members of that organization. Well, instead of writing that letter 100, 200, 300, however many times required to make sure that I send a letter to all of my members, I would create a form letter, and in that form letter I would include some fields that are merged and linked back to a database. In this case it would be Access, that includes name, address, city, state, zip, and in the correct salutation for said member. So, and that once I do that, then I only have to write one letter. I link the name and address fields to the letter. I can run, you'll see on the next page or the next slide, a mail merge, and it will create all the letters I need for me. So I don't have to copy and paste 100 times. I don't have to type a letter several hundred times. That's the point of using merge fields, and that's the point of using a mail merge. Alright, so let's go to inserting merge fields into a Word document. From a main document, the data source, a third file is a merged document is created and called a mail merge. And before performing a mail merge, you add the merge fields to the main document, which are placeholders to indicate where the custom information from the data source should appear. So in this case, the merge fields would coincide with a field in an Access database. So let's say I've got an Access database that has a table of Alumni Association members, and in that table I'll have a field that includes first names, last names, street address, city, state, and the zip code. And I will link those merged fields in my form letter back to my Excel table that contains the data that I want to use. And once I do that, I can perform a mail merge and populate the name and address information into my file. And this is covered in the textbook on page, looks like begins on 388 and continues on 390. So if you would take a look at slide diagram 019, you can see the mail merge recipients box, and that's on page 389. And you can see that these are the fields that we would include in our mail merge. Alright, so now that we know what a mail merge is, let's talk about performing a mail merge. After setting up the main document, specifying the data source, and inserting the merge field, you're ready to create the merge document, and you can preview the mail merge to ensure that all the information displays properly in the final document. So we'll do that. And then using the mail merge to create the email message is also another use of a mail merge. You can create letters. You can also create emails if you want. Instead of sending a hard copy letter through the U.S. mail, you could create, which is nowadays is probably more useful, a mail merge to send personalized email messages. And I know pretty much everybody listening to the lecture has gotten some type of mass email before that was addressed to you, but you knew that it was going to several hundred or several thousand people. Well, this would be an example of how those emails were created. So in that case, you would have merge fields for the greeting, and you would also have a merge field for the email address. So in that case, that's how the emails would be addressed. And the steps for creating an email mail merge are basically the same for a letter in the mail merge, which is covered again on page 388 and through 391 in your textbook. So that's the last topic for this unit. Please work through your tutorials. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'll send out an announcement for the upcoming test on PowerPoint and give some dates and times of when exactly that's going to take place. Thank you.